Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of AI After Hours. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. Now, I'm going to be sharing a webinar that was recently led by Ryan Grant. And for those of you that might not know Ryan, he is one of the co-founders of Neo Home Loans. He's an industry titan. Now, I do want to preface that I have not been asked by Neo or Ryan specifically to do this. Ryan sent me a DM last week and asked what my thoughts were on this webinar, specifically pertaining to AI and how it is disrupting our industry. So rather than just having a back channel conversation with Ryan, I thought, this could be really cool to kind of unpack this and share this with you. Now, one of the things I hear a lot, especially online, is that AI is going to replace the modern mortgage advisor. And the technology is going to get to the point where it is essentially, push button, get mortgage. What Rocket did at, scale is going to be much larger across the industry. And I really think that it's a more nuanced answer, but I disagree. And so Ryan hosted a webinar last week showcasing what Neo is doing, what Better is doing with their technology, integrating Tin Man and Betsy, and how they have integrated AI into their entire platform and how their loan officers are using it. Now, I am not going to get into the specifics. If you want to watch that webinar, I'll put that in the link. And you can go see exactly what they're doing. What I want to do is take a couple snippets from what Ryan shared and just kind of give my raw, honest thoughts on his feedback. Now, here's a little bit of context for my relationship with Ryan. Last summer, I was on my way to a mortgage conference and I was sitting at the gate at the airport getting ready to board the plane. And this gentleman comes and sits down in the open seat next to me, like directly next to me. And we were close enough that I looked over to see who this person was. And sure enough, it was Ryan Grant because I've seen that face. And so I was like, do I say something? Do I not? And so I awkwardly started striking up a conversation. And it was really cool. I'm glad I did. And one of the things that really stuck with me is we started talking about, the philosophy of being a lender for life. And Ryan was like, hey, a lot of people say this, but that's lip service. The mortgage industry, by and large, is pretty commoditized, and we treat it like a pharmacy. Like a client comes, they have a script, they get a loan, and they leave. And if they can't fulfill it with you, they can go down to somebody else and get it, and we move on to treating the next person, but not actually creating a full long-term advising type relationship. And so I knew from that conversation that his mission and what they're building over at Neo specifically was like, how do we change that? How do we build trust at scale? How do we build personal brands for our loan officers so that they don't get stuck in the weeds as much on the technical side, but they really can serve and shine on the advising side? So Ryan has been on my radar for that specific reason. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and just play the recording, and then I will unpack a little bit of it.
About AI. It's about humanity. It's about guidance, financial literacy, empathy. It's about creating space for you as mortgage advisors to focus on the most human and the most valuable part of this business. The AI is just a mechanism. It will allow us to finally do that at scale. Because contrary to what many people believe, we don't have a future that is human or AI. The future is going to belong to mortgage advisors who can combine human trust, human strategy, empathy, human leadership with the speed of AI, the efficiency, the leverage, and execution at scale. And that's what we're building. Not a replacement for mortgage professionals or their teams, an enhancement of them.
So, I mean, I don't know that I could actually put that any better than what Ryan said. And not to sound like this is just a reinforcing what he's saying, but I wholeheartely believe that to be true. That yes, AI is going to massively, as it already has, disrupt a lot of industries. But the most human brand wins. The better that you can be at building relationships and getting in front of people and adding true value outside of the technical behind the scenes development for a loan, you're going to shine. Okay, So the second thing that he
People to
shares.
understand this because consumers don't actually care whether AI exists. Really, they don't. What they care about is clarity, lack of friction, confidence, guidance, and they want to learn what they don't know from somebody who has empathy and support. Without that, sure, just use a bot. So candidly, AI helps us deliver those things at a dramatically higher level.
So that's exactly it. I really do believe that the client just wants a great experience. They don't care that you're using AI. They don't care if you're writing their app on a paper napkin and processing it the old school way. They don't care if it's an AI tool in the background. They just want to come to you and get the solution that they need. And not just the mortgage fulfilled, but when we look at the data, and I love going back to First Home IQ, I love that they do this because they produce amazing insights every single year. But one of their recent reports showed that 20% of next gen home buyers trust mortgage advisors. 20%. That means 80% don't trust you. And why don't they trust us? Because there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of overwhelm, and a lot of mortgage advisors have kind of had this rap of just being like a car salesman, like, you're in it for the commission. So I believe that by integrating AI more into the back end and allowing you, the loan officer, to be freed up from not having to be as involved in your pipeline meetings and, all of the tools that you guys are having to run behind the curtain that requires manual touches, if that can be absolved by AI, then that frees you up to do the thing that's like your zone of genius, which is building relationships, adding value, educating, informing, getting in front of people, and actually being the lender for life. Like having the annual mortgage reviews and the touches and all of those things that in a perfect world, if you had infinite time and resources, you would be doing, but you can't because you're stuck in your files and you're stuck in your pipeline. Okay, so the other thing that I'll say is this next clip that I'm going to show you is Ryan was doing a Q&A, and he actually got some pushback by somebody that was on the call. And kind of to frame what the pushback was, is Ryan's whole principle is you have to act like a mortgage advisor and advise the client for the long term.
We have to stop selling mortgages. We have to start helping them understand the emotion of, should you buy a home? Should you buy an investment property? Should you buy a second home? What about your parents and children and generational wealth planning? That's what people should look to us for. The mortgage is going to be, like you said, push button, get mortgage. So what do we offer that others don't?
And you think that the consumer will pay a premium for that?
I pay for it right now,
No,
and I would
you pay
encourage
for the
other people
financial
to.
advisor. That's very different than I think a
But look,
transaction where.
look, just 92% of America doesn't have financial planners. They have no financial literacy. They have no one in their life who's helping them.
Right,
They're
which is
literally on
why
an
that's
island.
probably a bad example that you just gave.
It's
They're
not. We get to be that person for 92% of America. We get to be the person that gives them information to create wealth. We get to meet with them every year and plan for future real estate. We get to help them avoid bad decisions. We get to help them get out of debt. We get to help them in so many areas. We just have to lean into it and start offering that and stop offering mortgages.
Okay. So you can see that really is the life beat of what Ryan is talking about, especially bringing in AI. If you believe that what you offer is more than just selling a mortgage, and you are actually helping your clients build wealth through homeownership, and you're taking on the role of not just being a pharmacist, but being a doctor, right? I have a good friend, Kayla Callender, and she always says, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. And that is what a lot of people do under the concept of push button, get mortgage. They just push the button, they give them the mortgage, and they move on, and they're not actually advising. AI integrating into your systems is going to free you up in other ways to do that. So I would absolutely agree with what Ryan was sharing here that the most human people are going to win. Is AI going to replace you? No, not if you don't let it. If you can lean into your personal brand, show up online, in person, offer value, host webinars, teach classes, make the phone calls, send the emails. If you can show up with the most value and actually care, which I know you do, especially if you're listening, you care, then you will be okay. Now, as AI continues to disrupt our industry, I think there's really cool things that are going to happen. And there's some things that, AI is far from perfect. I am constantly watching things break and it's clunky and what have you. And so, again, if you want to see what they're doing over at Better and Neo, go watch the webinar for the technical aspect. But my 2 cents on, is AI a good thing? Is it going to help our industry? By and large, I absolutely do believe that there's going to be massive gains in a positive way so that you can take that role of being the modern mortgage advisor that you want to be. You just haven't been able to do because you've been in the weeds on your files, in your pipeline. I will also say this is still so early in the deployment phase, and Neo is one of the first companies, if not the first company, to roll this out in the level and magnitude that they're doing. And I think it's just a matter of very short time before other companies are going to do the same thing. And so we'll see. The verdict is still out. But Ryan, if you're watching, really great webinar, great feedback. Obviously, you believe in personal branding. You've modeled that, and now you guys are doing that over at Neo. The most human brand will continue to win. And if you keep leaning into adding value at every single touch point, you're going to be just fine and you're not going to be replaced. All right, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you for following along, and I'll be back next week with some more ideas.